Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be playing on the last page in my 8x8 journal, the very last page. And I'm going to be using some of my new products which will be launching or starting to ship from Monday, 1st of April. Haha, no April Fool, believe me. So I'll go through a couple of the new products with you. So the first one is the Jumbo Damask stencil. There you go, I'll put it on some black paper so you can see it better. So it's a really nice large damask pattern. That's my previous damask, which is the grunge damask, which is a bit smaller and a bit more kind of grungy, distressed in effect, whereas this one's larger pattern and a lot cleaner in its lines, so you can get some nice kind of detail with this one for backgrounds. So that's available for pre-order. All the products that I'm showing you today, that are mine anyway, are available for pre-order now, and the shipping starts on Monday the 1st of April. So that's the big damask or jumbo damask, depending on which way you want to call it. I can't remember what I've put it on the website, but there you go. So I'll be using that first of all to start off with some texture paste. So let me just pop those other bits and pieces away for now and grab a spatula Clark, and I'll just pop the stencil down. I'm going to put a damask pattern up here in the top kind of right hand corner, a little bit over here in the bottom, but not too much up there because that's where my quote for the page is going to go. So I might just bring a little bit down here as well. So I'm using this embossing paste from the Papercraft Society. Now, this is at least 7 or 8 years old, because this was Mum's. When Mum donated all her craft stuff, because she was stopping doing it, this was amongst it. And it still had the foil seal on it as of this morning. And I've just taken it off and it's still perfect. That seal must have been really good. So I'm just going to grab some of that texture paste and I'm going to just scrape it through. And I'm not particularly bothered about getting perfect lines with this, or if any of it just kind of squidges underneath a little bit, that's okay. I just want to get kind of that grunge kind of texture in the background. So I'm going to lift that up. Yeah, you can see that there. Look, it looks absolutely lovely. So I'm going to drop it just down there in the corner, pick up some more, drop that down, and then we'll just have a little bit over here in this corner. So I'm not even sure whether the Papercraft Society is British or American, or whether they actually still even make this stuff. So if you know, please leave a comment, let us know. There we go. And then we'll just add a little bit more down here in the bottom. Okay. Don't forget, as always, if you're using texture paste through a stencil, always remember to go and wash it immediately afterwards. Otherwise, the texture paste will dry on the stencil and it will practically ruin it if you let it dry. There we go. So let me just pop that down over there, lift that stencil up. Oh, love it. Right, okie dokie, like I've just said, I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to go and clean the stencil now and the spatula, but not before popping the lid back on. Now what I will do is I will get some shrink wrap, cling film as we call it here in the UK, and I will lay a piece over the top just to kind of get rid of any air in there to stop it from drying out. And I've got a wet wipe there, so actually we can do that with the spatula. That's okay. And then I just need to go and clean the stencil off. And I can leave that to dry au naturel, if you like. Right, I'll be right back. Okay, so my stencil is now dry. Now, I always say the best way to clean your stencils with texture paste is to use something like a toothbrush. And I used to joke that I used my hubby's toothbrush while he wasn't looking. I did say joke, didn't I? Or am I? Anyway, so that's all done and cleaned now. The embossing paste has had a little time to dry. This did take longer than usual for some reason, don't know why. When I use, say for example, the Indigo Blue True Grit, the fine one, it dries a lot quicker. This one just seemed to take a lot longer, but I digress. Anyway, so what I want to do now is just give it a quick kind of brush over with some white gesso. So I've got some here. That one feels like it's probably fuller. Right, the white gesso really is just to kind of get rid of any, I shouldn't use that brush. No, actually it doesn't really make any difference. Let me get a clean one. I thought that brush was clean, obviously I've not cleaned it properly. Right, white gesso is just so that if this texture paste, because it looks shiny, I'm just wondering, because I've never used it before, whether or not it actually has sort of a non-porous kind of structure to it. But just in case, let's just add a quick coat of white gesso, because that will solve any kind of issues that we have. That will allow us to be able to put whatever we want over the top without worrying that it's just going to slide right off. And just again over there, you could use clear gesso, don't have to be white. Since you're going white on white, clear gesso would work just as well. If you haven't got clear gesso, then perhaps a coat of matte medium would do the same job. As long as it's giving you a little bit of a tooth to be able to add additional colours over the top later. So there we go, let's drop that in some water. Then I'll just lift that up so you can see it, hold it under the light so you can see the texture. Look at that, looks lovely already. Okay, so let me just give the gesso a quick blast, get it dried, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so next step is I'm going to bring in some colours. So I've got my Indigo Blue Vivid refills in the Alan Adale colour. These are all like Robin Hood names. So Alan Adale, which is an orangey colour. I've got Friar Tuck, which is a kind of, I'd say claret kind of wine colour. And I've got Robin Hood himself, which is green. And what I want to do is I want to create a kind of nice background, just using kind of like watercolory effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of colour. This is the Robin Hood, that's the green. So this has got a touch of blue in it. So it has a little bit of a sort of tealy colour kind of look. And what I'm going to do is get some water. Now the colour goes a long way, a long way. So what I want to do is I want to add some of that green over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz onto the page, just so the colour's going to manoeuvre. And we're just going to whiz it around. And then give it a spritz again. Let it do its thing. Spritz again, particularly over the texture page, because it will start to pool around that pattern, as you can see, you can start to see the pattern start to appear. Now these vivid colours, although they are very vivid, as the name suggests, they will just die back a little bit. Okay, just get rid of that. A little goes a long way. You don't really need a lot. You really don't. So let's just bring that across there, give it a spritz. And just let that run and sit just for a minute. I've got some clean water, oops, just in a little pot by my side there. And what I'm going to do is I'll just take off a little bit of that around the edge. And then I'm going to give that a quick kind of blast with the heat gun just to kind of help it start to dry. All right, so that's the green all dry. So now I'm going to just bring in a small amount of that Friar Tuck, which is the red, or the kind of clarity pinky colour. And this time I'm going to put that up here in the corner. So I'm going to wet that first. I'm going to try not to contaminate into the green too much, because red and green just gives you brown. So we'll just go over just a little bit. I don't mind a little bit of it dripping and going over there. Oh, look at that. Love that. And again, maybe a little bit over in this corner as well. And it will reactivate the green, so don't worry too much, because we do want a little bit of overlap, like we said. Just a little, but not a huge amount. And we're just going to take it into that red there. And it's starting to kind of pool in that middle. That's okay, that's going to get covered up in a minute. Yeah, I'm liking that. Maybe just a little bit up in that corner as well. And I'll just spritz that, just so it diffuses. Okay, so once again, I'll just give this a little bit of a help with the heat gun. All right, so one thing to remember then, with the Friar Tuck, when I said it's like a clarity colour, and when I said the Robin Hood was a kind of tealy colour, there was a hint of blue in there. Instead of creating brown, what it's done, it's actually created purple, which is fabulous, which is really good. Okay, so the next is going to be the Alan a Dale, which is going to be that orange colour. So I'm going to mix some on my worktop. I'm going to just spritz and diffuse these corners over here. And then I'm going to add just a teeny tiny little bit of that orange colour, because I want it kind of washed out. Grab the brush. And then we can start adding that orange just into those corners there, and just diffusing that colour a bit. And then just blending it in. And then what I'll do is just add a little bit over here. And we'll spritz that just to diffuse it. Just a tad about there. Okay, I'm kind of happy with the way those colours are flowing. Let's just fill that gap in. That's it. Yeah, I'm liking liking that. Let's just lift a little bit of that out. Push it across there a little bit. Just help to blend a tad. Diffuse it a bit more. And that'll do. Okay, once again with the heat. Okay, so that's all dry now. So I'm going to start working on my kind of focal points for this page. So I'm just going to pop that to one side and bring in some new product. So these are new laser cut kits. As you can see, we've got the butterfly wreath. So there's a wreath shape there with 3 butterflies, 2 smaller ones, 1 larger one. We've got the butterflies. So you've got 2 large, 2 small, and then you've got the dragonflies. So 2 large filigree with the wings, and then you've got 4 of those smaller dragonflies today. Now I'm operating a butterfly ban this year where I'm not using butterflies. But like I've said previously in other videos, just because I'm not using butterflies this year, I'm trying not to use butterflies this year. Mainly because I think sometimes they can be an overdone motif. That doesn't necessarily mean to say that everybody else should, which is why I'm still producing products with butterflies on, because I know people love butterflies and they are a fabulous motif to use in art journals. But sometimes it's nice creatively to restrict yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the wreath from this one. So this, like I said, is laser cut on 3mm Medite, which is like an MDF, but it's Carb 2 compliant. And it's designed for use outdoors, which means that it takes paint and colour really, really well. Some MDF, when it's painted, kind of, you get like a, it blows, if you're pardon the expression. It kind of starts to separate. The Medite doesn't, so it's perfect for painting and using in your journals and your projects and that kind of stuff. And what I'm doing is I'm just going around. If you hold your laser cuts from me up to the light, you'll be able to see where the tabs are. And all you have to do is where the tabs are, like there's one just here, you just see it's tiny, is you just push against with your nail. And there's usually only about 3 in each of the shapes, 3 to 4 depending on how big it is. There's the other one there, and then it just drops out, leaving like your wreath shape behind. So like I said, I'm not going to be using the butterflies today, but these laser cut shapes are available now to pre-order, and like I said, shipping starts on Monday, the 1st of April. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the dragonflies though. So even though I'm not using the butterfly, I will use 2 of the dragonflies. Now these dragonflies are only tabbed on the wings just because they're small. You only really need 2 tabs. There we go. And then they'll just literally push out. So what I like to do, if you can see the tab, is just to grab an emery board and just drag it across, and literally just a couple of strokes will just remove anything that's left. So that's if you're really bothered about it. On there, and you can see where they are, look, because it's a different colour. And that's pretty much it. And then just on the inside, that removes that. Gone. Gone. And we go. Done. Sorted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dragonfly instead of a butterfly up there. This one is going to be on the page itself. So to decorate, I'm going to paint them with white gesso, just because I want to add some other colours to them later. So I'm just going to give them a quick coat over. Now don't worry if some of the darkness from the actual laser cutting itself, the soot if you like, there's not usually a huge amount. It won't come off on your fingers, but what it will do if you're painting with gesso is it may just darken the gesso a little bit. Now you can roller this, if you wanted to paint it while it was still in the sheet to make it easier, then I know people do that. I'm not particularly bothered either way, and I don't mind if I don't actually get the edges, because I just think it helps to define it against your page anyway. So I'll just quickly, and it does dry fairly quick. There we go. You can do as many coats as you want. If I've gone over a little bit, I'll just go in there and grab the edge, so there's no blobs of paint anywhere. Because every time I touch it, it's going to start lifting it off until it's dry. Hang on then, let's just get a little bit, let's move that pot around there. Why do I always do that? I'm right-handed, but I always have the pot on the left. I just like making things difficult for myself. Okay, so while I'm doing this, I'm just going to just talk about giving the video a thumbs up. So if you are enjoying the video, if you could just take a moment just to give the video a thumbs up, because it really does help the YouTube algorithm spread the word about my YouTube channel. It really does help me grow my channel if you hit that thumbs up button. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's what the YouTube algorithm actually uses to decide whether or not to show my video or recommend my video to other people who might not have yet found me. So, like I said, if you are enjoying the video, if you could just take a moment just to click that like button, because it would really, really, really help me out, and I really would appreciate it. There we go. Alright, so dragonflies. The reason I'm not using the big dragonflies is because they're just a little bit too big for this particular project. And I'm going to save those for another day. I did use the dragonflies in another project recently, a couple of weeks ago, which was that one. It's the same dragonflies. Okay. All right, so let's get those dried. I'll get all this lot cleaned up, and then I'll be right back. It's all dry, so what I want to do now is I'm going to add some embossing powder to the wreath, just to give it a little bit of a gilt shine. So I'm just adding some glue onto a piece of fat foam. This is fat foam from Indigo Blue, but cut and dry kind of works in the same way. And I'm just loading it up. This is the same kind of like technique you'd use if you were using gilding flake. So you put your glue onto your sponge. And if you don't have any of this, you can just use the ordinary kind of yellow sponge. Okay, so let's just load that up a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around kind of the outside. Just loading that area up there I want it to be with the glue. so. And the thing with this glue as well is, if you're doing this and the phone rings or there's a knock at the door, just put it face down on your mat and walk away. It will not dry out. You could probably come back an hour later. Okay, so I'm going to just cover shake. This is a chunky embossing powder, again from Indigo Blue. This is the Chatsworth Glorious Embossing Glaze or enamel, because it's thicker. But again, you could use any. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll just drop that down very gently, and then I can maneuver it back, bring it over here, back into the pot, because waste not, want not, and all that. Okay, it will leave a little bit of residue behind, but that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a gentle heat. So I'm going to get the heat gun going first without going straight down on there, because I don't want to just go straight in and then let it heat up. I want it hot when I go in there. Okay, so the thing with this enamel is, if you go in straight away and then just go over, then it will kind of like bobble and you'll get like little globulates of gold. But what you need to do is you need to just hold the heat and give it a little bit of a continuous heat. And what happens then, the embossing enamel just kind of goes, and I'll do that sound effect again, and kind of just melts and spreads and floods the area and gives it that real kind of chunky look, which is fabulous. Right, so I'm going to just use, it does dry pretty quickly, so I'm going to go into the middle now and go on to the rose. And then I've got some red. And then I'm going to just tip that right. Perhaps I should have shook the pot up first. Right, let me just go over that once. Right, so I think I need a little bit more glue. Okay. Let me shake the pot up. Okay. This may not be right for small areas. This is probably usually better for a larger one, but we'll see. Right, so the glue is fairly strong. But, maybe it's not fine enough. These things sometimes happen. Not necessarily the right product for the project. It does happen occasionally. Often said you can't use every product for every project. You know, they do have the limitations and they do have their designed uses. I think probably this particular one is probably for a larger area. But let's still give it another go. Okay. Right. Let's go with a bit of a tidy up. And then I'll be right back. Okay, so what I've decided to do, the gold enamel worked fine. Obviously the coloured ones are not really for this. So what I've done is I've got some paint instead now. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to just come in and go over that green. And then if I can find either a clear embossing powder or some kind of varnish, I can give that a varnish over. And we'll get just the kind of same effect. There we go. Perhaps I should have just painted it and glazed it right from the word go. Okay, so that's that dry. So let's come back in, get the glue. Let's use a clean piece. Let's load that up. And then I'm going to go over the green. And then let's go add some of that green. So there's clear in this as well. So we'll get the similar sort of thing, but with the green. I'm hoping, even if just a little bit of that sticks. All right. You can see the colour crystals in there. Okay, now I think I'm happy with that. I like the way there's some of them that are shinier than others, so it gives you that kind of jeweled effect. Like those. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I have a focal point. Well, actually, let's do the dragonflies first. All right, so on the dragonflies, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint the bodies in a kind of apricot colour. So that, that light background with the white gesso works quite well. Just quickly give those a blast. All right, so I found my Luscious Pigment powders, and this is the gold cast. So what I need to do is just wet the brush, which I've just done, dip it in the powder, and then just put it onto the worktop. Just need a little bit of additional water just to mix, and you can see how lovely it goes. And then I'm going to paint the wings. Make it a bit thicker if we need to. It's like a shimmering gold colour. And you'll be able to see it in a second when I lift it up and just tilt it. So you can see the gold flashing. And you can add a couple of coats. And you can make it as thick as you want, because you're adding your own water. There we go. And what I'll do is I'll just give them a quick blast with the heat gun. I love the way the colour shifts. I do have some that also have that kind of iridescent green and blue, but at the moment I just don't know what I've done with them. I know I should keep them all together. But I keep putting them away and then I forget where I've put them because they're not immediately to hand, and they're only small pots, so yeah. Right, let's get those dried off. Okay, so after all that faff, it's time to start assembling the art journal page. Right, so let's grab some glue. This is going to be my focal point image for the page, which is why I kind of chose those colours. So I'm going to just add some glue around there. And then we're going to stick that down, kind of bottom left-hand corner. I kind of love the retro sort of 50s vibe these ladies are giving. So I'll just have to add a little bit of weight to that. Just before I glue on the wreath. So I did measure the circle first of all, in case you're wondering. And if any of this glue squidges out, not to worry, because it will dry clear. So flip that over. And then if I just carefully just drop that down, I might have to get my head in shot for a second, just to make sure I've got it lined up. That'll do. Just like that. And then I just need to add a little bit of pressure just to make sure that it's staying put. In fact, let me move that one over there and put that on there like that. Right, if any of the glue is squidged out too much, then I'm just going to come in with a little brush and just wipe it away. I can't really see that much. And like I said, it will dry clear anyway. So I'll give that 5 or 10 minutes and then I'll be back. All right, so it's had a few minutes to grab and take hold, which is perfect. So before, I can stick one of my dragonflies onto the project. What I've done is I've just taken a black pen and just drawn in on that body and added a few little eyes just for fun. A little bit of glue there, and then I can stick the butterfly, not the butterfly, the dragonfly onto the frame like so. I'm not going to stick this one down just yet because I've got my little quote to add to the page. So, but I just want to add a little bit of distress to it, just to go around the edges, just like we normally do. And I can just audition where I want these to go before committing to its location. And I will remember to speak. Okay. So I'm just adding a little bit of distress ink just around the edges. And that's my little quote for the day. Cherish the now. It's why it's called the present. Which will do just nicely. Okay, so let's find the best Cherish the now. That's why it's called the present. Yeah, I think I like that. Don't think that works too much down there. That's okay up there. But I think that kind of finishes it off quite nicely. So let's grab some glue. Glue and more glue today. So I'll add that there. I'm just adding a little bit more glue than normal onto the background because of that texture paste that we've used. There we go. And then let's just drop a bit of glue just onto the body of that dragonfly there. And I think we have it. Bit of a hot jewel tone journal page from me today. Not something that I do very often. So I do hope you've enjoyed watching me create this this page. If you have, like I said before, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, because it really does help spread the word about my YouTube channel, and it does help me grow. So don't forget, you can share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.